I'm Mike Sheridan and you're very welcome to The Delve. Maxi Jazz is a DJ and performer who has had a series of monster hits over the years with his band Faithless. Two of those songs, Insomnia and God is a DJ, are still rampantly played on Irish radio to this day. At Electric Picnic this year he joins Low Cuts in a DJ battle at the Tree Made by Music stage. So you're here in Dublin for the Made by Music stage, Electric Picnic, and there's going to be a DJ battle. What exactly does a DJ battle entail? Because it sounds like there might be a fight.
It's between myself and DJ Low Cuts. And although generally there's no fighting as such, you're actually trying to play music that the crowd like more than the other guy.
Oh, I get you. So it's a reaction you're getting from the crowd.
Exactly. And oftentimes there's a fair bit of banter on the microphone too. Do
you think Low Cuts is going to be able to keep up with you? Because
we'll
you've done this before, right?
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, I'm a South London boy. I grew up on this.
Has it been a long time since you've done a battle?
Yeah, the last one I did actually was not that long ago, to be fair. But I was battling my good mate, and it was a fundraiser for the Grenfell fire disaster. So they asked me to come and play.
Great cause.
Yeah, and me and Tim, he played for an hour, and we're battling furiously for this crowd. It was very good fun.
Good fun. And Electric Picnic's always good. Have you ever, you've obviously done festivals and stuff before in Ireland with Faithless.
Oxygen was the main one we used to do. Oxygen every year, yeah.
What was Oxygen like to do back in the day?
Crazy. I mean, Irish fans are just crazy anyway, in that they're going to have a good time and you're not going to stop them. So there's always a really lovely feeling with the crowd and a bit anarchic too. I love that, so it's always been fun.
The crowd has a bit of an edge. Yeah, the crowd is in it as well. How do you judge a performance? Because some artists judge on like the literal performance and beats that they hit or certain points that they hit in the show, or maybe if they're playing an instrument, or is it the crowd?
It's a bit of both. For me, it's always the crowd. If the crowd have gone home happy, then we've had a good gig, in my view. And the reason for practice, as you know, as an individual musician, the reason to rehearse and get it right as a band is so that you can have an off day and still send the crowd home happy. You can't have an off day and be terrible. You know what I mean? If you're touring for 6 months and you haven't seen your house for 6 months, then yeah, you're going to be tired, you know, but you cannot give 80% of a show when people have spent 100% on the ticket price.
So what's it like being on the road as a touring band, especially with the festivals coming in at the summertime? Because you've obviously been doing it for a long time.
It's fantastic. It beats working by a long way. It's got its downsides. It's physically very taxing. So you have to be reasonably fit before you start and try and keep a tad of that fitness up while you're doing it, because it is pretty physically taxing if you're moving from city to city, day to day. Psychologically as well, it can be a bit. Niels Lofgren made an album called Rock and Roll Gypsy, which I bought at the time and now I understand. Because you feel a bit like a gypsy in that you're never still. You know, there's never any routine to your life. Every time you look out the window, you're seeing something different, which is great on the one hand, but after a while it's like, I really want to see my house again, see my mates and have a beer. And
is there any way of normalising it, being on the road? I know you use a trainer, you were talking about being in shape.
No, I don't think that there's any way of normalising it. It kind of is what it is. And as I say, despite the fact that I can tell you about all of the downsides, you know, the upside is waking up on the bus in America really stupid early and going downstairs and sitting with the driver, and you're driving into Chicago at 7:30 in the morning and the sunlight is glinting off all the skyscrapers and you're like, oh my God. Or you're driving down through the Alps from Austria down into Switzerland and you're looking at all of these mountains and some of them are like luminous, they glow. It's just, I've seen some sights that I never thought I would. So, yeah, you're never going to hear me complain about it.
But it always comes back to the music, and my brothers are actually very excited that I was speaking to you today, because they were very much part of that club scene back in the day as well, which you know, you and your band have soundtracked very much.
Yeah.
What kind of kick do you get when you hear Insomnia or God as a DJ played when you're just walking around? Because it's a constant mainstay on radio even now.
It's kind of an odd kick, because you always feel great when you hear somebody else playing your tune. It's always a good feeling. But the fact that it's 20 odd years later, you get this kind of weird kind of like, how has that happened? I mean, I get it that people really liked the tune when it was put out. And I get it that they would like it maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years afterwards, they'd still be into it. 20 years later, and still going crazy like they did the very first time. And it's a whole different generation of people now. It's very weird.
And have you seen that fan base evolve a little bit from Insomnia
Oh, yeah,
to the
completely.
new band, and
Yeah,
people follow you over as well?
The last proper tour we did some festivals in 2015 and 16. And you'd rock up at the gigs, and the first sort of 5 or 6 rows are all 18 to 20-year-olds. Some of them wouldn't have been born when we started, which is crazy, and singing the words back to you. So obviously they've got the music off their dad or their older brother or somebody, but they love it. And yeah, that was a real shock. When we started the tour, I was expecting to see, you know, crowd of silver-haired 45-year-olds.
To see fans that have grown up with the band, I suppose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting to see their sons and daughters in the front row, which is kind of what happened.
And so I mentioned that you train, you obviously have to stay in shape when you're going on the road, and I know you use a trainer. Has God as a DJ or Insomnia ever come on while you were training in the gym?
I tend to train indoors.
Because that's one of those songs that people use to kind of get the band to train.
Yeah, it has happened.
That must be surreal.
It kind of is. You kind of want to pull your cat down though. I don't know what, but yeah, it's fun. And
what's the story then with so I want to talk about Crystal Palace as well, but before that, you race cars as well?
Yeah,
that's something
I used
that
to.
you're really into. Yeah. Did you have tell me, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you had a Sierra Cosworth.
I still have a
Sierra Cosworth.
Yeah.
The Holy Grail.
450 horsepower. It's
RS.
a brute.
Beautiful car.
Yeah.
And have you raced the Cosworth? That was
No,
one
I
back in
haven't
the
raced
day.
it, but I have a Marcos sports car. Now this is it's made out of fiberglass, and it's got a 5-litre V8 engine. And it's really quick, right? And I took the Marcos and the Cosworth to a test track where you're not actually supposed to drive fast, but they don't mind if you don't mind, because it's not like a real racetrack where you have runoff areas and safety features, nothing like that. Great big concrete bollards, trees, ditches. If you get it wrong, you're going to hurt yourself. So it's on you, mate.
You've just signed something. It's basically you.
Yeah.
Bro.
And so I took the Marcos around there as fast as I dare. And then I got in the Cosworth thinking this is going to be a lot slower. It wasn't. It was, you basically, I would judge the speed from going around turn 3, there's a little straight, so you can afford a little glance down at the speedo and see what you're doing as you come out of turn 3 in the Marcos, and then you do the same thing in the Cosworth. Pretty much the same. And
where did the racing come from? Was it something you were always interested in
always,
cars?
Yeah, always been into motor racing since I can remember. And my mate, my best mate Dave, he used to go up to Brands Hatch on a Saturday morning. They'd have like almost like an open day, school day. You pay like 145 quid, and they teach you how to drive around the track, and then they let you loose in a little Formula. It wasn't a Formula Ford, but it was a really small.
Like the F1 cars, like the smaller version.
But very, very much smaller. And you get to go 10 times round and try and break the lap time. And if you break the lap time that they set you, the next time you come, because they limited you to, you're not allowed to go above 4,000 revs.
You wreck the car. Yeah.
Well, no, because you're going too fast. You don't know what you're doing. 4,000 revs means you never go above 90 miles an hour. And then they say, well, if you break the time that we give you at 4,000, then next time you come, you can do it at 5. And I used to watch my mate going round and round and round and think to myself, I really want to do that. But I was trying to be a DJ and I needed the money to buy records and needles and headphones and stuff like that. So I said, as soon as as and when I make some money from this, I'm going to come back and do this. But rather than do the school day, I'll just take my motor racing license, which is 1 day. And if I pass, That means I can drive as fast as I bloody like next time I come in. So that's what I did. I went and got my competition licence and went racing. I did Ford Fiestas in 2000 and 2001. And back then it was a feeder championship for the British touring cars. So all of the young hot shoes who wanted to be touring car racers were in my series. And Colin Turkington, Gordon Shedden, I was racing against them. And Gareth Howell, people like Nicky Beaumont, they were all really, really good drivers. We're doing well now. I was racing against them. And in fact, the Formula 3 race that followed us around as well was being dominated by Takuma Sato and Anthony Davidson. So I sort of grew up racing around some proper famous names now. And then the band got busy for a while. And I went back to racing, but I changed up completely. In 2006, I did the Carrera Cup GB, which is Porsche 997 GT3 cars. Now, the Fiesta would do 95 miles an hour if you're on a steep hill with a wind behind you, and in top gear. It would only do 95, whereas the Porsches do about 170, 180. And the weird thing is, having driven, the first time I drove a Porsche was at Donington Park on a test day, and I'd driven in my Fiesta any amount of time, so I knew the track well. And when you're in the Porsche, it doesn't feel like you're going faster than you were in the Fiesta. It just feels like somebody in the night came and shortened the track. Everywhere is like 100 yards shorter.
It's just a smoother drive as well.
Whereas in the Fiesta, you get 2 gear changes between the bottom of Craner curves and the old hairpin. In the Porsche, you get round the bottom of the Craner curves and I've got to brake because you're going. So it just feels like the track's shorter than it was before.
What's the rush like from seeing a beat drop on stage and people going nuts for one of your tracks and hitting 170, 180 miles an hour in a Cosworth or in a 911?
It's a weird thing.
Because there's a similarity
the
there,
similarity
right?
for me is that you only really get to enjoy it once it's over. You're concentrating so much. When you're on stage, you're the front man. You've got to keep the vibe up there. At the very least, it mustn't go down there. Plus, you've also got cues that you must hit when you come in with your vocals. So you're concentrating all the time and thinking of ways to try and get the vibe up, whatever, in whatever way. And then when at the end, you've got your head down here and you get, you think, yes, done it. And it's exactly the same. You're concentrating so hard in a racing car because back of your mind, you're not thinking about it, but back of your mind, this is dangerous, Max. You come off here, you could hurt yourself.
One single mistake, yeah.
You could, and at the very least, you're going to be slow. Now, slow is bad. So you just don't want to make a mistake. And the first time I came around the final corner and I could see the checkered flag fluttering in the breeze in front of me, my eyes filled up. I couldn't see to drive anymore.
It was emotional.
Yeah,
you just crossing that finish line. And
you are holding so much tension inside yourself. You're driving the car as fast as you dare. So at some point, you'll turn the wheel and the car go, not sure. And you're like, I've overcooked it. And then the car goes, all right then. That's called on the limit. On the limit means it might and it might not.
Yeah.
You just have to be right here on the side of might. And when you hold that together for like half an hour, and then you don't have to do it anymore. Well, I've had races where I finished 14th and felt like punching the air, and just what a great race I had.
You knew you hit everything you need to hit. Yeah.
I can't imagine what it must feel like to win. All of the racing I did was against like professional drivers, so there's something to measure yourself by.
Yeah.
But you've got no chance of a podium even, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's so fulfilling, and I think that the reason that you feel that good after the motor racing is because it is dangerous. At the end of the day, on stage you've got 8 other people trying to make you look good. In a race, you've got 20 other people trying to make you look like an idiot. And plus, you could hurt yourself.
Yeah.
So when you actually do finish your race,
consequences. Yeah.
It's the feeling is unbelievable.
Do you still have that love for performing? Do you still have it now?
Yeah. That's the main reason. I mean, I have certain people are really good in studios. I find studios quite stressful places because you're going to make that one performance, And that's what you've got to live with for the rest of your life.
Because some artists really like that. They like the
Oh,
process
no,
of
they
being
love
in the
that.
studio more so
yeah.
than performing.
I find studios difficult. As a performer, if you have people in front of you, then you perform. It's just easy. It's just what you do. When you go into a studio, you have to bring that same performance out. There's nobody there. You know, there's your producer or your studio engineer, maybe two people staring at you through a big thick pane of glass. Saying, all right, Maxi, take one. And you have to then perform to nobody at all. So I kind of get it why quite a lot of vocalists have drink and drugs problems, because they think, oh, let me get myself in the mood. Get me a Stella. In fact, get me two. You know, and
everybody's facilitating it
tough,
as well. Yeah,
it's hard. I find studios difficult. I find performing really easy, but I think that the reason that you make records is in order to allow you to perform. Because if you haven't got anything out, then there's almost no reason for you to be out there on stage. So one begets the other.
And the other, I suppose, the three loves in your life. I mean, at least what we're going to speak about is, you know, the football as well. You've talked about the motorsports. We've talked about the music. You're from South London, so you're not just a Crystal Palace fan. You're involved with Crystal Palace.
Well, yeah, an associate director, if you don't mind.
That's a very nice title.
Do you not think?
I'd love to be an associate director of Celtic. I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, the odd thing is, I told my mum, she was in Jamaica, and she was so pleased. My son is an associate director at Crystal Palace Football Club. I have to put on a jacket and tie to go and watch the games, because we're allowed to go up to the boardroom and go and eat with and hobnob with all of the visiting dignitaries and managers and chairmen and co-owners and all of that, which is all very cool. And then we go down, and I have to be very civilised, because we've got all kinds of kids around us and stuff, so I'm not allowed to carry on as I might normally carry on. Particularly if decisions go against you, you have to kind of bite your tongue a little bit. But it's really great fun, and the fact that the club has been in the Premier League now for 6 years, and done all kinds of things that people never thought that we could. I am quite possibly the happiest man on the planet right now when it comes to football. You know, because my thing is, as long as we stay up every year, in another 2 and 3 years, we will have a really solid squad and be challenging for more than top 10, let's say.
Yeah.
I think we get top 10 this
the
year.
aim always has to be for Europe ultimately, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You want to be going for that
I
top
think
six.
we'll get top 10. We'll get top 10 this year. We've got Roy for another 2 years.
That's it. I was going to say Roy Hodgson. You've a
Best
former England manager in there as well.
Signing of the season by anybody for any
Really
reason.
underrated manager.
I'm telling you, that boy's amazing. The difference in how the team play under him to pretty much, and don't forget he followed Alan Pardew. I'm not going to say anything about Alan Pardew, but I'm really glad that we've got Roy. He's amazing. There was a spine-tingling moment at the very last game we played last year. It was against West Brom, and oddly enough, us and West Brom share 3 managers: Tony Pulis, Alan Pardew, and Roy Hodgson. And the West Brom fans were some of the best fans ever been to our ground. They were so funny. The
Brummies.
Yeah, they knew they were going down, right? So they were singing all kinds of songs like Que sera, sera, whatever will be. We're going to Shrewsbury. They were fantastic.
The sense of humour about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And they would sing anti-Pardew and Pulis songs, like we hate Pardew more than you. and they would sing glowing songs about Roy Hodgson. And there was one really spine-tingling moment where the entirety of the Palace support, 26,000 people, were singing, "He's one of our own, Roy Hodgson, he's one of our own." It was brilliant.
Have you had any interactions with Roy and how he's found the club?
No,
so
not yet.
far?
I try and keep myself away.
Yeah. You want to let him kind of go on with
Yeah,
the job?
at some point I'll say, "Roy, lovely to meet you, mate. Thank you." That'd be about it. Do you want a beer? Something like that.
You know that you're delighted that he's there. Anyway.
I don't even know if he knows who I am. I really don't.
I'm
care.
sure he does.
I really don't mind, but yeah, I'm really pleased we've got him. Let's put it like that.
Well, it was lovely to meet you. I'm looking forward to seeing the DJ battle. I mentioned I know Low Cuts quite well. He's a good friend of mine, so I'm looking forward to heading down and
I
seeing
can't wait. It's going to be brilliant.
It's going to be good fun.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your
Lovely to
time,
meet you.
gentlemen.
Lovely to meet you.
Thank you, sir.